All right, everyone. Last looks. Quiet on set. Roll sound. Sound speed. Roll camera. Camera speed. Scene 1. Take 1. Market. And action. Hi, I'm Ed, the host of Savannah on Film, and we explore the economic and cultural impact and values of the film industry in Savannah through conversations with people who work in the industry and related fields. You can find us here on WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. Hello, Savannah. I am Ed, and this is Savannah on Film. And Savannah on Film, our purpose is to explore the economic and cultural impacts and values of the film industry in Savannah through conversations with people who work in the industry and related fields. We are here on WRUU 107.5 LP, Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. And today's guest is going to be here in a minute. She's going to be fashionably late, caught in a little bit of that Savannah traffic, you know. So we've got Adam hanging out here. Adam Messer.
Hey,
hey, buddy.
how you doing?
I'm doing good. So live radio. Anything can happen. And
Yeah, definitely.
sometimes traffic happens. And so I was just listening to your show a minute ago on the way in, and I was enjoying it. You were talking about books.
Yeah, we had Stella Price on, and she's really, I think, very interesting author. So I'm glad to be able to hang out with you a little bit because
Yes.
know you've got a film background. I've worked doing some set photography and that kind of thing for a little while, and
Awesome.
I've worked with.
What have you worked on?
I worked on that 48-hour film festival and then some different indie stuff with different people here in Savannah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was on that this year again.
I had my
second
friend of
year.
mine. He did his MA at SCAD, and that was probably about 12 years ago. And I helped him, for a good 6 months on different projects and stuff like that, down on set and doing stuff from being a grip to an assistant to just whatever he needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. Especially if you're on a smaller film, you do everything.
Yeah.
That's what we're taught.
Even if you don't have experience, if you can just say yeah and have half a common sense, you can figure a lot of things out.
There's a lot that you can do on set. So let's talk a little bit about one of those films you worked on. Or can you?
Most of the stuff's been indie stuff.
It's just indie stuff?
Yeah, I've never
Okay.
worked on any big screen stuff at all.
Okay.
So I just help people around town doing little student projects. I was with Genevieve Hawkins. I was actually with theirs in 2014 on their 48-hour project.
Okay.
So I did set photography and helped out with that. The last couple of years, I haven't really done any of the 48-hour projects. I've been kind of busy.
They're a wonderful experience. You meet a lot of people. I got to work with Moment After Productions last year and this year.
Yeah.
And totally enjoyed that. It was wonderful working with a group of really talented folk.
I think what's interesting, too, is to see when someone starts off, like if they're brand new in whatever, and to just see how they kind of flourish Like the different
totally.
friends you meet, like, hey, what do you, you might not see him for a couple of years, and then you catch up to him, and you're like, oh, what are you up to? And you see the different projects that they've been working on, and how they've grown as a person.
Well, that's totally true, and I know myself that I've grown in a lot of ways too. And I like to say that I'm always learning every day. I'm picking up some new skill or learning a better technique as a sound mixer or whatever might be needed, especially if it's a smaller film. You do whatever.
I've been working on editing lately, trying to improve my editing skills.
I've actually been doing the same in the video side of it, so that's not something that is necessarily in my wheelhouse, but it's something that I'm working towards achieving, hopefully to the level that I have of sound. But
how did you get into it, Ed?
Oh my gosh, into the film industry?
Just into sound and film and all that, because now you're doing a radio show.
Well, I know. This
that's an evolution of it.
This literally is one of the things that was in my top 10 of my bucket list forever. And I just started off in radio, and I as a kid, I pretended I had a radio station and a TV station, and I just went from there, and I did a lot of fun things and with radio and everything. And here she is, Genevieve.
Hey,
yay!
Hey. Everybody, I'm gonna put the mic over to Genevieve. Hold on one second.
Yeah, we're gonna switch. This is live radio, y'all. So we got some friends, meeting some friends here that have worked together before. And so as Genevieve gets settled, welcome.
Hello.
Traffic is heck, isn't it?
Yes, you always.
Thank you, Adam.
You follow the GPS and you're like, oh, it's only going to take me this long, and then there's an event at the Civic Center that locked it all up.
Oh. So quiet on set. Well, I'm so glad you got here. I understand, and thank you for being here. And we got a lot of things to talk about in this next hour, and I want to thank everybody who's joining us and the wonderful feedback that we've gotten for all of the guests that have been on the show on Savannah on Film, and we're really growing here at WRUU.org at 107.5 FM in Savannah. And I'm having some great responses on the show. And so this is going to be another wonderful interview, nice conversation between friends. So I'm just going to start off with a little intro about you. And so you can take a bow afterwards, okay? Okay, our host today, our host is me, I hope so, but our guest today is Genevieve Hawkins. And Genevieve is an accomplished producer, production manager, actress, and positive force in the Savannah film community, and just a wonderfully kind human being. In her work with her husband's Killer Fish Productions, she has served in many facets of helping to bring creative visions to life in film. In Genevieve's own words, quote, I do not shy away from hard work. I can manage chaos under pressure and keep it together. Self-employed and the wife of an Army veteran, this means I am self-motivated, flexible, and adaptable. I have learned to roll with the punches, end quote. And that, Genevieve, you certainly do. And we welcome you to this show today. So officially welcome to Savannah on Film.
Thank you.
First, I'm going to go over some of your achievements thus far. Let me get my scroll here and roll it out here so we can just go through everything. And I'm going to go chronologically, okay? So feel free to jump in, any comments you can say. And things, I know there's some things you're under NDA that you can't say. So I totally understand that. So we're going to go back to 2013, roll back the clock, okay?
Okay.
The first short you were in was My Hobby, where you played a female victim.
Yes, that was my husband's first short film he had done for SCAD. And so, yeah, he threw me in there.
He threw you in. What was that like, your first time? And that was as an actress or actor, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call myself an actress. I have been thrown into a few parts out of desperation, and I've done some background. That's how we got started, was doing background. But yeah, I don't know. I just
so
kind of play
ago.
along. Yeah, it is a new perspective to see on set how long. I think that was my first reaction, like, wow, this really takes a long time. Like, to shoot a a 30-second or 2-minute commercial could take a week. And just everything involved. And I know people complain about how much movies cost when you go to the theater, or you have to buy them, and they all want to like bootleg them because they cost so much and it should be free. But when you're on set and you see millions of dollars being thrown at equipment and crew and locations, you're like, oh, this is why movies cost so much.
Because you've been a producer too, and we'll talk about that in a smidgen. And so, a producer deals with everything. You deal with all the headaches, and you try to prevent headaches and try to make everybody happy. So in 2013, you were busy. You were in another short. You were production manager on My Hobby.
Yeah, that's the same one. That's how I kind of got, I guess, into this.
Same film.
Yeah, it's the same one. My producer roles and my production manager roles have more been on shorts for my husband, because coming from the military, I've always been in this role of handling his paperwork. And honestly, I don't know how singer soldiers do it, because they're in the field so much, or they're off at war, that they have to, for someone to handle their like personal stuff. So I ended up handling most of my husband's, bills. He would make the money. I would pay the bills. I would budget everything. I'd do all his paperwork. And I think we just fell into these roles in a way.
And one can't exist without the other, Totally. So.
And I know that might seem stereotypical, but I am more of a very process person. I've always
How so?
I've always been into math and science when I was in school.
You said that bad word, math. That's my kryptonite, math. Now, English is different.
I know, English I was never good at. But I was always very much into computer programming and the processes from beginning to end. I actually went to school for computer programming for a brief period of time. And I think I was as executive assistant for many CEOs and VPs of big companies in Florida, telecom companies. So I'd already worked in an office environment. And, just the workflow, I was very used to that. And I think that's where I balance him out, because he is very creative and he keeps it all in his head. And honestly, if you asked me to picture how to film anything, I would be dead in the water. I mean, I always love it when it comes out, but I could not sit there and put all the pieces together and all the frames together and I'll just break it down a script like that. I'm not like that.
Okay. Let's see. 2014, you did another short, Back to One, where you were also a production manager on that.
Yes.
Same kind of situation?
Yeah, it's again, some of those is when we got started. We do a lot of these contests. I'm sure a lot of people have heard the 48-hour film contest once a year. It's become a bit of a tradition for me and my husband. And I help with the locations. I help with set up food, catering, crafty. I usually bring on the crew and put them in different roles. And I help him with all the contracts and the paperwork and the scheduling.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think about the logistics that go behind. Like you said, putting a film together, when you're behind the scenes, you're putting it together from pre-production even into post-production.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross,
There really are. And even in casting, a lot of times I notice local actors. I would attend local acting classes and watch them in their classes and other things like they post online. And then when it came time to my husband wanting to do a short, I would actually bring him reels or things of people I thought were good that stood out to me.
Awesome.
And
it's kind of a way of giving back, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I think that's a very important thing in this industry. A lot of us got gigs because a good friend said, "Hey, what about this guy?" or "What about that person there?" or "this person," and it's so appreciated because it goes a long way. And sometimes you'll make those connections with people, and you know each other, and we're all in these different circles that intertwine here and there, and then you meet some great people, you meet some people you don't really know that well, and then you get to know them when you work on a project, and then it's like you have a bigger fan base, or not fan, well, fan base if you become really popular, but a bigger friend, almost family, a movie family.
Yeah, there's definitely a bond when you go through spending that much time together, and some of them are really tough, and you're doing a lot in a short amount of time. You're really pushing
We've been
your
on
limits.
some that were like that we're like, oh gosh, is this going to end? And
I call it this, and maybe I don't know if I should say this on the radio, but I call it a weird drug that, so it's almost like a weird addiction, because when you're working in a film, you're like, this is so hard. I'm never doing this again. I'm so tired. I'm so burnt out. I can't do this. After you've been doing it for 3 or 4 months, and that's it. I don't even think this industry might be for me. And then after you haven't been working for a month or two, you're like, okay, where's my next fix? I need a phone call.
I need a phone call. I got to check my email constantly.
Yeah.
I'm sure they got something wrong, one letter wrong in the email. Disney meant to send that email to me, but it went to another person. I actually have a friend who's in the industry, and he has a similar name to someone else who's in the industry locally, and an email got crossed one time, and he showed up for the job and it wasn't him, which was unfortunate. But I think things worked out better for him in the end. But there was a little confusion at first, and that's a rare occurrence. But he just had one of those names that just happened to be just like someone else's.
Right. I also have a friend who has an email. I guess there's a dot in his email, and there's not in another gentleman.
Right.
Luckily, the other gentleman doesn't live here. But they also are in the same department, which is funny enough.
Okay.
And so I get emails.
Wow, that makes it even more interesting. Alrighty, so let's see. We have also, you were on Back to One from 2014. You were also an associate producer on that. So what did that entail, being an associate producer?
Well, at the time, I have to admit, I was still kind of naive to how titles were. And associate producer was just like my husband wanted, creative control. So as they say, so the producer handles everything.
Right.
And I believe in his talent enough that I would back him. So associate to me meant, kind of like a vice president.
Okay.
I was, stand beside him.
And in ways that you probably don't even imagine, you were helping him constantly. And we know, it's thank God for the women in this world. I think they keep all of us gentlemen, they keep us in line with what we need to do. Sometimes we forget or at least sometimes I do, forget which way is left, which way is right. And my wife is wonderful about that and making sure that I stay on track. Or as we say in one of my favorite films, Star Wars, stay on target, stay on target. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. So in 2015, you were also in another short, Behind Closed Doors, as associate producer on that. Anything you want to chat about on that one? That, again, was another 48-hour short. Okay. That we won several awards for. And, yeah, that's our tradition, is to, even though that 48 hours, it's hard, but the 48-hour film contest, even though it's hard to make a film in 48 hours, like no sleep. It's difficult. It's challenging. It definitely prepares you for real film industry. Yes. If you can, what always amazes me, especially, it starts with the script and a lot of other things too, a lot of pre-planning. And the more pre-planning you do, as much as you can, once you're given the elements for the 48-hour, you plan and then you hit the road running. And it's amazing to come back at the end of it and see what you've created with a wonderfully talented group of individuals. And you're like, wow, I don't believe I was even a part of this. But, right. And there's things you see in there. And, like, were you on Galveston? No. No, you weren't. Mm-hmm. Okay. I didn't think so. I was trying to think when we first met on film. I think you were helping Jesse with his short. Okay. Jesse Perry. Okay. Yeah. A former guest on our show. You can check out that episode. And we met there. And I had told you, I said your name was in like the ethers. I had heard your name. It's like, who is this Genevieve Hawkins? I've got to talk to this person. This is someone I need to know in the Savannah film industry. And then we met and I'm like, oh, you're Genevieve. I was like, I've seen you, but I didn't know, I'm bad with names and faces. I hide in the background as much as possible. That's okay, But there has to be someone pulling those strings, right? And so, keeping the machine running, as it were. But when we work in film, it's always good to have a significant other or a spouse that can understand. And I think your children are also in some of your films. And
Yeah, originally we homeschool the children, which
impressive.
well, they're virtual schooled, so they still go to a public school
Okay.
online. But yes, so part of it was like a learning lesson. Doing SCAD films was kind of like they just got to experience it, and it was kind of like a free drama class in a way. It was helpful. It was symbiotic. It helps the SCAD students with children for their films, and my kids had fun doing it. So yeah, it's kind of become a family affair.
That's awesome. A family affair. I like that.
Yeah, and now my son is turned 12, and now he has been helping Dad do some camera work. So he's learning how to be an AC already.
That's awesome. We all start somewhere, and wow, to have your parents in the industry and to grow up in that industry, and I'm sure they look up to you guys, and you set a wonderful example for them. So we've got a whole new generation that you're training for to take over the world.
And it also helps in a small way to take a little bit of the glamour out of it and realize it is hard work as well. I mean, being famous is wonderful, and I'm sure they get a wonderful paycheck, but it also, there's a lot of hard work that goes behind it that people don't see.
There definitely is. There's a lot of building that foundation of the house of the film, as so to speak, and a lot of things behind the curtain that no one sees and no one will ever see unless they're privileged enough to be on a production. Let's see. So we're up to 2015. Another associate producer on short here for Behind Closed Doors. What was
that's
that
the one
about?
we just talked about. Yeah, that was a 48.
Yeah, that was a 48. Okay,
Yeah.
excuse me. Okay,
Sorry.
that's in 2015. No, I can. I can get lost a little bit here. Then you were in a TV series in 2015 as a production assistant for 4 episodes. It was called Beach Eats USA with Curtis Stone.
Yes.
So what was it like from being in shorts to being in a TV series? What's the difference?
Well, it was a show that came to town to showcase the restaurants here and work with HGTV. It was basically just assisting whatever they needed done, carried. It was a reality show. And one thing I've noticed between working reality shows and union films is in a reality show, you get to be able to do and touch different equipment.
Right.
And I always loved that. In a reality show, as a production assistant, you can touch a butterfly or flags or sandbags, batteries. You can help assemble the camera. In a feature film, every department handles their own equipment, and a PA wouldn't go over and just grab a battery and help camera put on a battery.
Right.
That would
Yeah,
be like-
definitely would not. You always err on the side. I remember when I was on Galveston as an intern with GFA, there were times I wanted to, just that little bit of extra, and I was like, nope. I'm here in the sound department. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
Make sure I'm 110% aware of everything going on. But I would watch the other departments and, watch what I was doing also and try to be as helpful as an intern could be,
Right.
just my first time on a professional set for a feature film. And, yeah, you don't touch anything, especially equipment. Like camera department, don't even go near the camera department. Grip and electric, stay away. There's reasons for that. There's safety issues. There's, and you don't want to be responsible for breaking a lens or a camera.
Yes, definitely.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I know the reality shows, I mean, they're rough and, they're generally low budget, but that was one good thing I found about them, is that I got to get more experience with other departments that I normally wouldn't have gotten.
Like what departments in particular?
Like I said, like camera batteries, I got to manage those and put up what would be considered grip equipment. I put up NDA on the windows and handled things that, normally I wouldn't handle as a normal production assistant.
Well, I remember it being one of the things from being a PA is always have a hot brick on you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, never, always got to have those extra
That would
fully
be a
charged
walkie
batteries.
battery.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification there. Correct.
Because
Yeah,
there's
that's
always going
different.
to be someone near you that's walkie is dying and they need a battery right away. So
And
it's easier
last
just
thing, sound department or anybody wants to hear is that sound of the battery's dead on the walkie, you know, or you can't get the proper communication. But let's see. On Beach Eats USA with Curtis Stone, the TV series, you were production assistant on Hidden Gems, Dockside Dining, Island Bites and Beach Burger Joints. That sounds fun. It sounds like a fun series.
It was, and that's another thing with that show is that the food was really good because the restaurants we were showcasing made us their best food because
That's awesome. They wanted to show off and show out.
So it was definitely the best lunches that I think I've had as a PA. And I also got releases. Another part of my job on that and several of the reality shows was to make sure that they signed, the people in the restaurant, the regular restaurant goers, signed contracts that released that they were allowed to be filmed. And you have to keep track of all of them with a photo and a number. So it's almost like they take a mugshot with their contract and a number. So that way later that somebody who's going through hundreds and hundreds of contracts can keep track.
That's important, yeah, because once again, it's the little things. It's the behind the scenes things like that make a difference. You want everything to match up properly, and cool. So you were, let's see, moving ahead in time. Actually, we're still in the same year. Another TV series. You were a production secretary, and I'm going to ask you particulars about that in the pilot of Z, The Beginning of Everything from 2015.
Yes, that was my first time being a production secretary. I would worked on set a few times, and this was the first office job I kind of fell into, but it was so easy for me because like I told you before, I was an executive secretary or executive assistant to several CEOs and VPs. So it was just another office environment, and I was already very proficient in the Microsoft Office suites. And so it was very easy for me to just pick up kind of where I left off. And that's where several previous jobs can come in handy. Several people believe that you have to go to film school or that maybe if you're older, it's not a good time to join into film. But I don't believe in that because my previous jobs helped me with this job so much. Being an event coordinator for the military and in being a secretary played in so much. Even being I worked for a print shop as a graphic artist for a while. All those have actually played a role in this role. They've come in handy. So
everything's been a brick that you're building upon. And so, I used to work in HR, did it for a lot of years. And coming to a movie set, there's been a lot of times where HR has given me that training of restraint because I'm kind of say what I feel kind of person. And I've learned with age and hopefully a little bit of wisdom to hold my tongue and and know when to speak. And some would disagree with that. Some would say I speak too much, but I don't know.
I might have that problem too. So.
It got me on radio, so I don't know. But there's always an important time and place to speak. But we pull from a lot of our past experiences. It's like if you get that wish, could I change something in the past? You would change your whole future, and so I don't regret anything that I've done. It's to quote the Beatles, "the long and winding road," that has got me to where I'm at, and I still have no idea at times where I'm going, and that's the excitement of it. But having the film industry, being part of that's just a wonderful journey, and like I said, meeting wonderful people. I'm such a people person that I'll talk your ear off, and so.
Well, that's why when I actually interview people for also roles, and if they're new to the film industry, I always ask what kind of other things they've done outside of film, and I try to see how that can relate to a position that they're looking for in film. Right.
Because you got to look for that person that's going to fit that role, that's going to be just that right fit.
Right.
And the question that has come up to me is a thought that I've had is I'm an extrovert, I think, by nature. A lot would say I know a lot of introverts. Do you think sometimes being an introvert in maybe the casting, sometimes that person comes across as shy when that person can really give you a glowing performance? They might be the person for the role, but I know in an audition, you got to put all your fears aside and take that leap and become that role. Have you ever had someone that you were like casting for a film and you took a second look and you said, there's something there. They're not showing it right now, and then you kind of a callback?
Maybe not in casting myself, but I have noticed it, believe it or not, in a lot of A-list actors.
Really?
Yeah, that I've met, not a lot maybe, but several that on screen, before I met them, you would think that they were very extroverted. But
Right.
in person, they're very introverted.
And those are actually some of our best thinkers, the introverts. So much love to them. Let's see. You were still busy in 2015. You were years totally working here. You had another TV series. You were a production assistant in one episode of a TV series called Colorblind.
Oh, yes.
The pilot.
Yes, that was with Anthony Paderewski and a producer friend of his. They were
Awesome.
nice enough to bring me on. And honestly, I would have to say that's where I started getting my start as a production assistant. Even though the chronological order is a little off, that was one of the first ones I did. And I have to give credit to Anthony Paderewski for that, for helping me get my foot in the door as a production assistant.
Well, good job, Anthony. Thank you for giving Genevieve a chance there. And you've gone to even greater heights since then. 2016, Christine, you were a key set production assistant.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that. What's a key set production assistant have to do, or at least in your situation?
Basically, you're still a production assistant, and you have to do everything production assistants do, but you are in charge of all the other production assistants.
Is that fun?
It can be.
Is that like keeping the cattle together?
Yes. One of my most challenging events to being a key production assistant was what they call lockups. If you have a large area, like you're
Right.
downtown, and you got several blocks to lock up, and that means keep people from walking in the shot.
Right.
But they only gave you 3 PAs, and you have 8 corners. That can be fun.
What do you do in a case like that?
You just do the best you can, and try to have somebody cover 2 if they can. Try
Right.
to keep their eyes on both and just call what they call a bogey when they see someone start to walk in the shot. That way.
Yeah, and then somebody comes out with a rocket launcher and usually takes care of that. But no, that's different. That's different. The next film, which was a fantastically wonderful film, we had Patrick Roper on here, and he had a part in that film in 2016, The Birth of a Nation, and you were a production assistant on that. So
Yes.
what was that like? That's such a powerful movie.
Oh, yes. And I have to admit that I was a production assistant, but I only worked several days as what we call a day player.
Okay.
So they brought me in when they needed extra help if they had days with a lot of extras. And what I was talking about, we have, because the PAs handle escorting the extras around and helping them with their paperwork. And also, if you need more lockups, those are the days that you would bring in extra, what we call day player PAs.
Okay. So then oh my gosh, I see on my notes here that in 2016, I've watched one of these episodes. I don't know if I saw this particular episode, but in 2016, Restaurant Impossible, the TV series, you're a production assistant for the episode Ambush, a taxing situation. I love that show. That was awesome. What was that like?
It was a really cool show because you got to see the work, you got to see the flip, and the design aspect. I actually got to stand on the roof and be one of the people to release the sign. And so that was exciting because I do watch some of those shows. And that's one thing with being in these films and working with these kind of reality shows. Sometimes you go to locations and see things that you may have not normally see on your own. And they took us out to, I think it was Waynesboro, Georgia.
Wow.
So it was a little bit in rural area, but it was definitely a neat experience.
Okay. Well, we are going to take just a second here for just a few commercial breaks here, and we're going to be back with the wonderful Genevieve Hawkins. So please stand by.
WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul.
WRUU brings you the most diverse and passionate local radio programming on the air in Savannah. This all-volunteer and nonprofit community radio station accepts no money from any form of government. Our diversity and independence is made possible only through the generous financial support of listeners like you. We rely on your annual and ongoing monthly contributions to cover the many costs associated with bringing you our broadcast and web programming. If you are a contributor, thank you. If you are not yet a contributor, please show your appreciation of the role WRUU plays in your life by becoming a contributor in any amount. You can donate quickly and easily by credit card or check. Just find the donate and subscribe links at wruu.org. Thanks for listening to and supporting WRUU.
Tune in Saturdays at 3 p.m. to Muses, Memoirs, and More, your show about authors, artists, and entertainers with your host, Adam Messer. You're listening to WRUU-LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
The Ogeechee Riverkeeper offers monthly canoe and kayak excursions in all of the river's watershed through October. This year's paddles will take adventurers from the river's twisting and turning northern sections near Wadley, west of Augusta, to broad coastal stretches near Harris Neck, south of Savannah. The trips range from beginner to intermediate in difficulty. Boat rental is available. For more information, visit ogeecheeriverkeeper.org.
And we are back with our guest, Genevieve Hawkins. And so in interest of time, we're going to have to fast forward a little bit. You're always welcome to come back later, and we can talk some more. But I'm just going to go through the rest of your credits here. 2016, you did My Brother's Keeper as a key set production assistant. America's Got Talent in 2016, the audition here in Savannah. I think we were both on that. I was on that as a production assistant, that was very fun. I was rounding up the talent, and were you doing a similar thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
helping unload the equipment.
Oh, okay.
Helping set up some of the banners and.
Yeah, I was inside. I had the cushy job, I guess. But at one time I had, I think, 60 people that I'm like dealing with, and I'm like, okay, you sit here, and the producer, and it was a lot of fun, and so I did enjoy that. You were a production assistant in Tanked, a TV series in 2016. Love Under New Management, the Mickey Howard story. You were a production coordinator, so.
That was my first jump.
That was your first jump.
Yeah, and I can't lie. I was a little scared, but I told them. I said I've never done this before, but I'm willing to try, and they were willing to take a chance on me, and so that started. Yes, my production coordinator role. So
then we have 2016. This is Mike Stud, a TV series documentary. I can't say the title of what that particular episode was, but you were in that. The film in 2017, Gifted, yes, with Captain America.
Yes. Again, that's when Chris I played Evans. A day player role as well. I worked several days as a set PA. Set PA
on that. Welcome to Savannah, y'all, in 2017. You were a production coordinator again. And also in 2017, Par for the Strip golf course. Is that correct? Yeah. That's what my notes say.
Oh, goodness.
Goodness gracious. Okay. Oh, that you know what? Oh, I know what it is. Okay, I'm sorry. This is your host's fault. That was from Southern Charm Savannah TV series. Your production coordinator on the episodes for Boys of Summer, Par for the Strip golf course, and Welcome to Savannah, y'all. So I got that right. What was that like?
That's again another reality show. So it was nice to see how roles are different on reality shows again as film. Even titles, what they call associate producers and unit production managers are a lot different than what they consider them on film.
Why is that, or how is that?
I guess the roles are just different.
Okay.
It's hard. Like a unit production manager handles like a small crew, where on a film a unit production manager handles the entire crew, which can be hundreds of people. Okay.
2018, busy year for you. Lizzie, production coordinator on that.
Yes. So it's coming out in 2018, and that's how these films work.
Yeah, that's
Actually,
true,
I
yeah.
worked on it over a year ago now,
Right.
in December of 16. December
Wow.
of 16.
So almost,
and now,
yeah, 2
and
years.
so it shows chronologically it's coming
Right,
out
when
in
it's coming out.
2018. Yeah.
So, was that an interesting experience? Was that?
Yes.
That was fun.
Yeah, I like that crew. That was a good crew. I don't know. Again, it was just,
You
roll
just
with
click.
It. Yeah.
And then you were production coordinator, Atlanta unit in 2018 for 10 by 10.
Yeah, so that was my first Atlanta job. I had worked with a line producer here on Little Mermaid as a production coordinator in Savannah, and he was gracious enough to want to bring me up to Atlanta with him. So that was interesting. Most of it was filmed in the UK, but there was a leg of it shot in Atlanta.
Okay, and then we're going to get into some that you probably really can't talk about. There's probably some NDAs involved. But the Beach House TV movie 2018, you were assistant production coordinator.
Yes, that also just was released on Hallmark.
Okay, and production coordinator on The Little Mermaid.
Yes,
Which is
that's coming out in August. That was the one, actually, and that was filmed in 2014, so that shows you how long that took.
It took a while, didn't
Yeah.
it? Sometimes they do that with the films. The Shia LaBeouf movie, The Peanut Butter Falcon, you were production coordinator, and that's in post-production, I believe, at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, it's close to a release. 2019, or I guess this will be when this comes out, Boss Level, post-production.
Oh,
You
yeah,
were a
so that was
production assistant.
Yes, as several people know, that was here for a short while, and I was working on that before it moved to Atlanta.
Okay. And then you also had a production coordinator on Through the Glass Darkly.
That was another job
Some
I was
post.
lucky enough to go and work in the mountains in Georgia. I had worked with the line producer here in Savannah, and he liked working with me, and so he offered to bring me up in North Georgia with him.
Okay.
And that just shows that, just working hard, that sometimes when they come to Savannah and meet you, that sometimes they're willing to take you with them to other cities.
And The Poison Rose, you were production coordinator. Day 9 was your wrap on that.
Yeah.
And that's filming. I think it's still filming. Yeah, it's actually still
Oh,
filming.
no, we just wrapped it.
Did y'all just
Yeah.
wrap that?
Yep.
Poison Rose? Okay, cool. And I know you can't talk about it. And one of the last films I saved for last from Killerfish Productions was from the 48-hour film project in Savannah. And I'm just going to get in on what you guys won. We competed with Cello the moment after production. So you guys had a very wonderful film also. It was really good. You won People's Choice Group B. Congratulations. Best Sound Design. Best Editing, Best Ensemble, Best Cinematography, Best Film, First Runner-Up. And the required elements for that character was Thomas Ortina Cello, a foreign visitor, and the prop was a pair of pliers, and the line had to be in the film of, "It's going to be a great day," or "It is going to be a great day." And the name of that film was Bias. I don't know if I said that, but it's a powerful film, and it was essentially a silent film to an extent. Yes. So to be given that genre is difficult to begin with.
Yeah, when we pulled it, we were
You're like,
really
oh my
shocked.
gosh, what have we done now?
Yes, what have we gotten ourselves into?
So what was that like?
Well, like I said, when we pulled silent, we were like, or sports film, but we were like,
Yeah,
we
I'm
could
glad we
do
didn't
it.
get sports
We're
film.
known for our comedy, and we could do another comedy sports film, but we're like, my husband Christian was like, no, I want silent film, and like I said, every
It's a
year
challenge.
it's in his head, and I will tell him when he's full of it.
Right.
But I actually believe in his filmmaking abilities, and he pulls it off in his head. We haven't won one yet, but maybe someday.
You're getting close because that's an awful lot of wins there. So congrats to all of your whole crew on that.
Thank
Because it was I saw the film obviously at the award ceremony there, and it's very powerful. And I watched it again the other day online on YouTube there. So got a couple questions here, and we're running really, really close on time here. We got about another 10 minutes or so. So we've talked about your role as a producer, and it goes from everything from selecting scripts, coordinating the writing team, directing, editing, all of that. It's everything. So what would you say are some of the most important skills to have in order to be a producer?
So, like I said, I've only produced some shorts for my husband, but I also work closely with producers in film. And I think that some strong qualities that they need to have is negotiation. They're constantly negotiating with everybody. They're negotiating locations, they're negotiating with agents, crew members, equipment. You go down the line, investors constantly. They also have to have thick skin because everybody's always coming after them.
Right.
It's always the producer's fault because, they're they're the captain of the ship.
You're the captain of the ship, and
So when the crew's not happy, they go to the producer. When the investors aren't happy, they're on agents. Everybody's yelling at the producer. They never, they're there because they're not happy. Also, they sign a lot of contracts. They're constantly, there's a lot of legal language that is thrown at them. It's almost surprising it's important definitely to watch the money. Of course, money's finite, and sometimes creatives can forget that.
Exactly. There's so much with the vision that they need someone that can focus on the logistics of it, and organization has to be top priority, I would think, in the film, and especially with the pre-planning and just the whole project. So,
and then also, I'm sorry, when there's night shoots, the producers are there most of the night if they can, but then they're up all day handling business, or they're getting calls from LA because they're several hours behind us, and so they don't get much sleep. So running on little sleep is an important quality.
Yeah, we talked about associate producers or assistant producers and production coordinators, pretty much what those cover, So they're a little bit down the chain, but they're still very vital to a production.
Yes.
There's so many things.
So executor isn't the right word, but the production coordinator doesn't necessarily make the decisions, but we implement them.
Okay.
So the producers say, I need tents, I need this, and this. And you just make it happen. I've been asked to make sure that toilets have been fixed. I've been asked to make sure that we have toilets on set, dumpsters. I've been asked for a petting zoo within 2 hours. I've been asked for...
I don't even know how you pull that off.
I did. Surprisingly, sometimes I surprise myself when I'm like, I'm not going to do this. And then you do it. And you're like, okay, been asked for boats at 9 and 10 o'clock at night, process trailers on Sunday at 4 p.m.,
Wow.
heaters at 2 a.m. in Savannah, not the little ones that you buy at the store, but big propane heaters.
Wow.
So
some big stuff, and sometimes it's unusual things. It's, like that. So we talked about a lot of the positions that you've done in film. I want to shift gears real quick, and let's talk about women in film. Okay. As a woman in the film industry, how do you think the industry has changed?
Well, I guess I've only been in the film industry for 5 years, and I haven't really seen it change. And I think Savannah has a great crew that, from my perspective, and I can only say from my experiences, I haven't seen, much of sexual harassment.
Okay.
But as far as women and men roles, generally the only departments that I see is that are male dominated tend to be departments that require a lot of physical strength. The grips, the electrics, camera, sometimes carrying heavy cameras.
I have seen on films that I've been on, I've seen women outwork the men on some of those films.
Oh, well, that's what I'm saying.
That perception needs to go.
So, and also like set dressers and construction, departments that do require you carry a lot. And I do see women in those departments, and those women are extremely tough. But that is what it's going to require. It's going to require a tough, strong woman to work alongside the men to carry lights bigger than half their body.
Well, with the ever-increasing roles of female filmmakers and women throughout the film industry, do you think we're seeing a change?
I definitely think there's a movement across all industries, and you definitely see more film like female directors that are popping up. I think there is a stigma still with actresses where they tend to cast a 50 or 60-year-old man with a 20 or 30-year-old woman as a couple. Like, it's very common, and a very talented actor, male actor, can be unattractive because they look at him for his talent, but then they always make his wife a 20 or 30-year-old very attractive woman. And then we do have a few wonderful actresses that have broken that mold,
Right.
like Kathy Bates and Meryl Streep, and you know,
yeah.
and things like that. But generally, bigger women have to be funny. They have to be comedians to be in a lead role. But I do see more and more of that changing. Generally, the only time they have a very attractive man be the husband is if it's a female film.
Well, another thing that needs to be addressed too is equal pay, and I know that's been a movement in Hollywood that the women in films, their parts are ever as much important, sometimes more important than the male counterpart. You know, in a scene, it depends, you know, on the movie, but generally speaking, they're just as important. And you know, I grew up with actors calling actors were men and actresses were women. That's just how we're brought up. But I think now, don't we just say actors, or do we? Some people, I don't know what's politically correct or whatever is supposed to be said, but you know, we're all actors. I think anybody that engages in the art of acting, whether you're male or female, you're an actor. You know, and I think that can cross different lines, and to see women have more important roles, like I think right off the top of my bat, being a geek, I think of Patty Jenkins and Wonder Woman. Look what she did as a female director, and how that, and she's, you know, not the first one, but look how that's kicking down doors.
Well, I've
and,
one
know,
of my things,
which need
I
to
would
be.
love to work on a set with Jodie Foster as a director. I
I
mean,
love Jodie Foster. She's done some
always
incredible
loved her.
work.
And I don't know, there's a small list of, you know, things I would like, actors I'd like to meet now.
Meryl Streep.
Yes, she would definitely be one of them.
I think
Kathy Bates. I would love to meet.
Halle Berry.
Oh, yes.
She's an accomplished
But
actress.
to work on a set where Jodie Foster is the director, it intrigues me.
Well, women bring a different perspective than generally men would to a project, and that's not to take away from the men.
Right.
But that's just, you know, it's nice to hear a different voice, just like voices of color in the film industry.
They might bring more empathy or emotional triggers, like feelings, possibly.
So I know I can speak to the fact that I've seen a lot of females. I've worked with a lot of females, you know, in the industry.
I think
and there's
most
nothing,
men, especially nowadays, have no problem working along
no problem.
females.
I don't care who you are, as long as you're doing your job.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's how the production is. As long as you're doing the job you're there to do and you're doing it well, then there should be no discussion.
There's I think, a lot of well balance between men and women overall in the overall film set, and men always seem very perfectly, at least in Savannah, they seem great to work along as far as being a female. I'm sure they really, you know, they like the pleasant dynamic.
Do you think, we kind of touched on this, that women, especially maybe successful actresses, actors that are female, do you think they get typecast still?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying is, like, and I believe it's changing. There's becoming more women lead roles of different sizes and colors and things. But there still is this, like I said, where the woman has to be pretty and younger than the male is expected to be. They generally aren't the same age. Especially like in Tom Cruise's case. I mean, he's getting up there, and they still match him with the younger woman.
Well, yeah, if Tom Cruise says, I want this or that, you probably listen to Tom Cruise. But I think we're seeing a change in cinema in general. I can see it. I can see it in Star Wars. I can see it in other films where the female doesn't have to be the damsel in distress. You know, been there, done that.
They're giving her strength, but there's still this idea of, I guess, she has to be young and pretty.
Well, she also needs to get equal pay.
Well, as far as
for if they're the same stature. Now, if you know, if they put me in a film, if I were a female and they put me in a film with Tom Cruise, I wouldn't expect to make Tom Cruise money on my first film. But you know,
well, A-list actors do negotiations, obviously, and but. Several of the day players or the people who have a few lines, there is a standard rate that everyone gets paid, whether you're male or female. Okay. You know, the bigger guys, their agents do their negotiations, but there's definitely a standard rate, whether you're a male or female, for most of the people who have a few lines or work a few days.
There is enough room in this industry, not just in Savannah, but in the entire film industry, for men, women, people of color, and all that. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're listening now, you can hear my voice or any of the voices of these great filmmakers. Realize you have that potential. You have that power that you can become the next rising star. You've got that, and you need to follow that passion, and don't let anything stop you. Don't let anything get in your way.
Well, I definitely agree. And people underestimate this. They're like, oh, I don't look the part, or I don't do this. But there's actually a part for almost every shape, size of person out there.
Right.
So you don't have to necessarily be young and pretty to do. There's a role out there for you.
There's a reason I'm on radio.
Whatever.
No.
There's a reason I'm on here with you.
No. Well, Genevieve, we are running out of time here, but thank you for being here. I'm sorry about your traffic delays.
Oh, I'm sorry too.
It happens. It's show business. It happens, You made a very dramatic entrance, so I love that. It's very good. I'm here, yay. And it's been a pleasure. I've been wanting to get you on the show, and it's, we got the women are representing today here on Savannah on Film. So thank you, Genevieve, for joining me today on Savannah on Film. And Savannah on Film wants to feature film professionals at different levels. So if you're listening and you're in the industry, I'd love to talk to you too. Savannah on Film is a voice for the Savannah film industry. So if you want to reach us, you can email us at savannaonfilm@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And you have been listening to Savannah on Film with your host Ed Susevich on WRUU 107.5 FM, LP, Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. You have been listening to another episode of Savannah on Film, where we give a voice to the Savannah film community. Please like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter. This program was originally broadcast on 107.5 FM in Savannah, Georgia, and worldwide on www.wruu.org. Join us next time for more intriguing insights into the vibrant Savannah film community here at Savannah on Film.